piling on, I didn't, you didn't see any response from Dennis Clough today, right?
No, I did not.
All right, well, I was hoping we might be able to do some color to that.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Yep.
Hey, this, Tom just thought it would be a good idea if we revisited the ARPA funds to see where we're currently at and have some discussion in regard to spending the portion we designated for government services. Alright, so I just like give you a little summary of what we've been through. We received the first check from ARPA back in July of 21. It was a little over $2 million. The second check came in about a year later, at the end of July of 22. It was also a little bit over $2 million. The feds actually passed the final rule in January of 2022, which set forth the guidelines of how money can be spent or used. Became effective on April 1st of 22. There are basically several primary ways that funding can be utilized for public health, to combat the economic impact of COVID, funding for the town and loss of revenue, premium pay for essential workers, and water, sewer, broadband infrastructure. Several months ago, we designated the town board passed a resolution to designate $350,000 to our grant program. We had many applicants apply, and we ended up approving 14 grant applications and paid out $350,000 in July of 22 to those grantees. The board had also decided to designate $2.5 million to the wastewater treatment plant phase 2 project, which is the construction is not underway, but the planning and design is well underway. So to date, we've spent $1,518,361 on these earmarked funds for that purpose. The board had also designated $1,260,000 as replacement of lost public sector revenue, which means that we can use that for government services. So there's significant flexibility in how this money can be spent, and that's basically going to be the topic of our discussion tonight. So the uses of that money can be for road building, maintenance, and other infrastructure, health services, general admin, staff, and administrative facilities, environmental remediation, which kind of ties into the Webster Hamlet presentation that Matt just did, with the furniture stripper building, and police public safety services. So some of the possible uses for our town might be to modernize IT, hardware, software, and cybersecurity. It can be used for highway infrastructure, which could be building roads, maintaining roads, and I think it could be used for the highway building as well. So it mentions highway infrastructure, but that was a little gray to me. It can also be used for police technical equipment and vehicles. I was thinking it could be used for the town comprehensive plan, which we just got a grant for, and as I mentioned, possibly for the West Webster Hamlet as well. So just to summarize the funding, so the total amount received is $4,050,860. We designated $350,000 for grants, $2.5 million for the wastewater treatment plant project, and the remaining $1,200,860 for government services. So the total spent to date is $1,816,361, which means about $2.2 million remains at this point. So there's a timeline for the use of the funds. The funds need to be eligible expenses must be incurred before 12/31/24. The funds must be obligated, but you have until the end of 2026 to actually complete the projects that you designated for the use of these funds. So in regards to the 2024 date, I guess we should get moving just to decide how the remaining funds will be spent, get a better idea. So, and just a reminder, the reporting requirements is an annual reporting requirement. We complied by the end of April. And April of each year we have to file a report. And if we spend over $750,000 a year, it's subject to a special single audit, which is an additional. It's more of a compliance audit than a financial audit. It would be performed by our CPA firm. That's about it. So I think we wanted to speak about where to go from here.
Yeah, and just to start the conversation, one of the reasons, the main reason, and I think, Patty, you might have put the bug in my ear a couple of weeks ago, that we should come to a workshop and have Paul give us an update on this. And I think you did.
I did.
Okay, thank you. I'm starting to lose my memory on things, so. I shouldn't say that out loud, should I? No, hopefully I'll forget what I said. And what really spawned that, I think, was that without the town board, the town board and Paul has done a good job of the three major categories that you just said. We started to kind of fall into this, and it's an unintended thing, where we've taken the $1.2 million for general government, and over the last few months we said, well, let's use $22,000 for the environmental phase 2 testing on 600 Ridge. Let's use $100,000 to buy the sidewalk plow. So it's funny where Paul has just said that we've spent to date $1.8 million. We've actually got another 120 some odd thousand that is obligated when the invoices come in.
We do.
And so before that train leaves the station too far and we start just sitting around the next few months and saying, hey, why don't we use it for this and this as it reactively comes up, we thought that this was a good start. We're not going to solve anything tonight, but at least start the discussion of maybe coming up with a schedule of things that we would use this money for, this $1.2 million, which is now down to, I don't know, $1.080 million.
Yeah.
So there's my prelude to this. And then I'll let the other board members let her rip.
No, I had just mentioned that we take a look at this as a whole picture so that obviously the things that we talked about, the environmental testing and the sidewalk, these are certainly needs, but I wanted to be sure we weren't losing sight over perhaps applying these funds to some larger meaningful projects that need to be done, but we may not have the means to do within the budget. So I'm glad that we're looking at it. And where we go from there, I think we'll be discussing it. I just want to be careful that we're not spending it a little bit at a time and then we don't come up.
Ginny or Bill on this?
Well, if we can use it for infrastructure, I'm sure that the new building and work at the highway garage, there's quite a bit of infrastructure that can be done there. And we could use some of that money for that, and that would be help on the other end of the bonding.
Yeah.
We have a meeting tomorrow morning for a preliminary estimate of the cost of everything. So I'll have a better idea of what cost to the infrastructure work will be. Hopefully.
Bill, I'm glad you brought this up because as Paul showed in here, we got a lot of latitude on this as far as, what is it, the end of 24 is when we have to, that's the final double secret probation date of when you are saying this is what you're using the money for.
Yeah.
Now I want to ask, this isn't a gotcha question, Paul. We got $2.5 million slotted for the wastewater plant. I want to know, and I think I know the answer to this, as we go along over the next 2 years leading up to the end of 24, if we all of a sudden hit pay dirt on all these grants for the wastewater plant, could we repurpose that $2.5 million ARPA?
I believe we can.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And to that extent, what Bill just said, I just want our options left open, because Bill, you might have hit the nail on the head. We may find as time goes on that we need the money for the highway facility, more so than sewer. And if the clarification, like you said, the ambiguous about highway that you said, if we get confirmation on that, well, it'd be nice to have that option open. So, but I just, I guess, like I said, we're not gonna solve anything tonight, but I'm gonna just make a proposal that before this board approves another resolution for 10 grand here or 20 grand there, that we first have some semblance of a proposed plan beyond just the 3 major categories.
Pecking order.
Yes. And I don't know, Paul and I we'll keep on this, because, the end of 24, I know it sounds like, it'll come quicker than we think.
Yeah.
It's January 23, so, if we come back and to a workshop and say, a couple months, and say, hey, here's an idea for how we know the 350's gone. That went to 14 different 501c3s. So we're really at the $2.5 million that right now we have earmarked for wastewater. And then $1.2 million for general, which, whatever. Well, I know we got 22 grand earmarked for the phase 2 on 600 Ridge, and about 100 for that sidewalk project.
Right.
Other than that, in my mind, nothing is, right now, initially we slotted up 2.5 for the wastewater plant. I'm not married to that, because I want to see how we make out with WIA and some of these other grants that we could go for. And if we find that we're just knocking it out of the ballpark on the wastewater, I want that money to be considered by this board for other needs, like Bill just said. Because just the way it is, there might be more grant opportunities for wastewater than there is for highway.
I will tell you right now, we have no opportunities for grants for highway. We've already gone over that, and we presented that information at the next meeting.
Are you trying to make me cry at this
No,
moment?
I'm just giving you the facts.
Jenny, you want to follow that one?
Well, I'm glad, that our company have shared it with the nonprofit organization, that we have them, in that. I'm happy to see that, and I thank you, Paul, for a lot of your time and your effort, to break down everything and help, with this grant. So, like I said, whatever best for our community, we use the money for, I will support it, because that's always goal, to help our community.
Anything else? Paul, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right.
Paul.